What sort of things do you remember with the boys or?
Well, I remember with Dr. Nute going on an out call, but I was still just studying Turkish with Mrs. Nute. And he said, "You come with me." And so we went to stop the car. He was driving a car, didn't have to ride horse yet. We stopped the car. We walked across a couple of fields to a little house, and we went in to see the patient. And the room was absolutely jammed with neighbors who would come in because they knew the doctor was coming and they wanted to be there. So he very politely said, "Look, we need air for this patient. So if you all don't mind, just go out for a little while I examined her." So I said, "But where's the patient?" And he said, "Down there." And there was a quilt with a sort of a bump in it. And that was the patient. And she was all screwed up with arthritis all over, arms and legs.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah, but all of her body, just one place. And Dr. Nute got out his medicine, and he gave her an intravenous shot of salicylate, which they never would do now. But he wanted to, have a quick reaction, and he did. And then he left some pills, I suppose, aspirin, to take. And then he said to us,
It's coming.
"Don't. As soon as this medicine is over, send somebody to tell us to get some more out." Thank you. So I kept watching the patients' names as they came up, and her name never came up. And then a long time later, it was a very snowy winter. A long time later, somebody came in. They said, "But she's worse. She was better for a long time, and now she's worse." He said, "Of course she's worse. I told her to come right away." Well, it was snowy and it was hard to go. So he sent some more medicine, but he didn't give her another intravenous shot. And we never heard from her, so I don't know what happened.
Well, Ari's probably tells his children about those days too, because he has two children and they're wonderful boys, aren't they both boys?
Both boys.
Yeah.
Wonderful boys.
What, they had two boys?
Two
Yeah.
boys.
William and Ari?
Yes. Well, that's
Garb had
Garbets.
William and Aris, and they're both living in Pennsylvania. But I was just telling Ann about the beautiful, beautiful garden and home that Aris has. They've just been there, and we were there together one time a year ago, and his father would just.
He'd be so proud.
So proud of Aris.
Aris has made a little talas in that backyard of his.
The garden is full of wonderful exotic trees, and he raises beautiful fruit and so on. Just the way.
What does he do for a living?
He sells hospital supplies, doesn't he?
Actually, right now he's on the
Maintenance too.
maintenance.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
and he's one of the state certified, I think, people who can check up on hospitals and all their equipment now. So he goes
Aris
all
has
around.
a very responsible
Yeah.
job. I think William has too.
What
William's-
is his profession?
I'm not. Do you remember some of the boys that came from Talas School to the clinic, or you went up to the clinic and checked on them every day? I don't know how often, but there was a kind of an infirmary there.
Yeah,
And the
infirmary up at school.
Yeah, the boys would
Yeah.
once in a while get headaches, on purpose.
Oh yeah, every afternoon, 4:00, and I'd go up there so Dr. Nute didn't need to go. And there was one boy who kept coming every afternoon, every afternoon. "Oh, my headache, so, oh, my headache." and I take his temperature. It was all right. And I can't see a headache, so all right. Gave him an aspirin, had him sit a while. And then after a while, she'd get ready to go home. And then later, when Miss Cormon's dogs, one of them had some serious trouble, and had to be taken to the vet in Kayseri. And then the next day, this boy came with his headache, and I offered him an aspirin, and he said, "You give me an aspirin. The dog gets sick. You take him to Kayseri, and he gets a shot. All I get is an aspirin." And then we found out that his headache was because he didn't want to go to the football practice, and so that came just at the same time. He'd have a headache, and he'd be at the infirmary. Didn't have to go to football. And later in Istanbul, when the Scots had a get together, Talas and Tarsus boys, and that boy came up and said, "Remember, I'm the one that had a headache, and you gave the dog a shot, and you gave me a pill." And he laughed, and I laughed.
It was a nice memory, wasn't it?
Wondered who that was. He'd love that. Well, thank you, Izzy, for remembering those stories and remembering those memories. We have a little bit of this on our videotape. So Don is videoing you, and so you'll be saying these, and maybe some of the boys in Talas and teachers in Talas will be remembering.
Okay.
Tell Izzy what they're planning to do in Talas.
Yeah. Do you know that the Talas boys, just in the past year or two, have really gotten organized, and they're beginning to refurbish the Talas Clinic for a guest house, a cultural heritage center, and a place where both the clinic and all the work that you and the Nutes and the Matthews and all those that worked at the clinic, the Dodds, as well as the school and all the past faculty and students that went to the school. It'll be a wonderful memory, a place of memory and honor.
Now you're going to Matthews next.
We are tonight.
Tonight.
Tonight we'll be at the
Be sure to
Matthews.
tell Bill Matthews about that.
He does know, actually.
He knows about
And
it. Okay.
we'll be videoing him a little bit as well, so that he'll be on this. We videoed Bill Nute Jr. just last week, and Aris and his mother, and now you and some of our guests here. So it'll be a wonderful memory for that heritage center.
Okay.
And it'll be you'll be on record there.
Okay. In Minnesota.
You know what? You know what
between, she goes scuba diving.
Oh.
Do you know what I think the
What's on the
biggest
beach?
contribution a lot of us who went out to Turkey as missionaries made? I think we produced children who became international do-gooders.
Wow.
There we go.
Started. I'm Bill Matthews, and I would say that first of all, I went to Los tutor in 1952, along with Ralph Myron, and we sailed over to Turkey with the Blakes and picked up some Turkish on the boat, but mostly had a good time going to Turkey. Talas was quite a change from what I was used to. I never lived in a fairly arid district of any country, and so it was a change, but a beautiful change, because I like the surroundings at Talas, especially Mount Erciyes. I could never get enough of a glimpse of Erciyes, and except when we went to Kayseri, and I just looked at it and took pictures of it all the time. As a tutor, I taught both mathematics, mostly algebra, geometry, and science there. And the Scots made us all take a beginning English class and teach the preps English. And I think,
Way to get a grant.
from what I've heard from some of you students, that I was a little too hard on you in that English class, prep English. And I'm sorry about that, but I think probably my frustrations were coming out since I wasn't used to teaching English. But I guess we all survived it. And the 3 years were quite enjoyable. I like my algebra class mostly. And especially looking out towards, while you were doing some busy work at your desk, looking out the window towards Table soon. The years at Turkey I spent mostly at the school, because we all had our duties and extracurricular tasks such as the Scouts and helping with some of the after school activities. But I also spent some time down in the clinic working with Dr. Dodd, especially on Saturdays. I did go out to the village my first year with Dr. Nute once, and he showed me some interesting cases in the clinic occasionally. But most of the cases I saw at the Talas Clinic were shown to me on Saturday mornings by Dr. Dodd. In fact, I even helped put a needle in the chest one time and tap out some fluid from a TB patient. And I think that I had intended on going into medicine when I was in undergraduate school, but after my second year, my dad had a heart attack, and I figured finances wouldn't allow me to go into medicine, so I changed my major and ended up in Talas. But working with both Dr. Nute and Dr. Dodd at the clinic, I got interested in medicine again. And when I came back to the States in 1955, after leaving Talas, I talked with Dr. Dodd, and he was in New York City at that time, and encouraged me into considering taking pre-med courses, finishing my pre-med courses, because I only had a few more to take, and then going on and applying to med school, which I did. So in 1964, 68, we got, I don't know, can you see, Mitch?
Yeah, let's get Mitch in the picture. She came in the picture
She
this
came
morning.
in the picture. In 1962, I married Midge, my wife, and some of you students have met her in Talas, because when we went back to Talas in 1968, we had visits from Mehmet Shalbi, Mehmet Akyar, Yavuz Ayata used to live down the street, and he played tennis with me every Saturday or Sunday, I can't remember, Sunday morning. And we had visits from a few others. In fact, we had visits from teachers too. Ralph Myron came back at one time with his wife, and the Scots came by.
Don and Roxy.
Don and Roxy Berry, and who else with Talas? No. Well, some of the Tarsus teachers always came up, and I'm sure some of you know a lot of the Tarsus teachers, such as
Nick and Sally McCain. And
McCain's,
Jill Tom
Jill,
Amadon's,
uh,
Amadon's,
Bill and Jill
Bill's.
Amadon, Wally and Ruth Robeson.
Oh, yeah, Ruth and Wally.
Yes, they came
But-
to visit.
When we came back, the only thing I regret about going back to Talas as a doctor was that there was no permission to practice outside the clinic. And we had to stay within the clinic walls, which in one case was quite sad for me because one of the students' brothers came down with a pulmonary clot in his leg and tossed a pulmonary embolus, and I was handicapped because I couldn't treat him. And he couldn't come to the clinic, and he wouldn't go to Kaiser, so I felt very badly in that situation.
We went back to Turkey in 1968, had language school for a while in Gaziantep, and then we went on to Talas in the middle, what I consider the middle of the winter, which is February. Very cold. There was snow piled up on both sides of the road because we took the back road through, what was it,
Goodson,
Guksun and the other
Mirage,
Marash
and Arabaj.
and Panarasha. And it was really, the snow was, it looked to me like it was 20 feet high on either side. We came into Talas and it was freezing. We had about 2 or 3 nice spring snows that first year, and I had never seen snow in my life.
Once or twice down in the big dining room.
Right, well, especially at the end of the year, there'd be
Graduate.
jubilee for the graduating class, and we would invite people in from Kaiser especially, and that would always be a lot of fun.
And what about Saturday night in the Konak?
Oh my, you probably coached many a play, didn't you, Bill?
No, that was your job.
I remember using all my wardrobe and lots of wonderful memories of boys wearing my robes and things like that to look like kings and queens, and I had such fun. Some of our students later turned out to be really good actors, you know. They didn't learn it all from us, but I think they got a good start. Ahmet, can't remember his last name now, but he was in the National Theater for a long
really?
time.
Was Corral Goyman?
Shepard-Mr, he didn't maybe go on stage, but he became a mayor of a big city later. And we've had lots of distinguished people. And one of the greatest thrills of my life in the last few years was watching Nova on BBC, or NBC, I guess it was, and the program on an archaeology dig in Western Turkey, where the group was trying to rebuild or redo, copy the way somebody had made a Roman bath long before. Was it near Aphrodisias? Anyway, it turned out that the leader of that expedition was Fikret Yegul. I thought, that's my student, I'm so proud of him. Right behind the clinic was a wonderful tennis court. Do you remember that?
Oh, yes.
We played tennis. In fact, in the winter, we made it an ice field for skating, but tennis was the thing that was intended for, and it was very popular at that time. I think it would be a wonderful sport for some of the local people and for
That's a good idea.
Talas alumni coming to visit, having a little extra, you know, get off the pounds.
Well, the gardens of
Right,
Talas
yeah.
are beautiful,
Yeah.
with the roses and
They
all
still
the
are,
trees.
they
and
still are.
I mean, the
Mhm.
paths and the gardens and the
Vineyards.
various seating areas. It was a lovely, lovely place.
Well, the campus, the lower campus, has been used as residences by the
Ergius.
Ergius University people, and they have made some beautiful homes there. At least the last time I saw it, and I think that could be, and the new dorm or the Kona, right in conjunction with the clinic. I don't know how it's going to be used, but it could be used as a part of a guest house or something like that. Yeah, I don't know if they are going to own it, but with the clinic and that little area, it could be a beautiful sort of a guest lodge. It
Definitely.
could be. I don't know if that's a possibility or not.
Wow. Thank you.